For 200 years, Britain was the most powerful nation in the world. From Canada to India, from Australia to Nigeria, from the Caribbean to South Africa, the British Empire once ruled over a third of the people on Earth.
Mahatma Gandhi was an Indian leader and activist against British rule. British rule started in 1858 and lasted for 200 years. Gandhi broke social barriers and political barriers by leading a nonviolent protest that eventually lifted British control. He inspired many activists such as Martin Luther King Jr. to protest in a nonviolent manner. Gandhi was later assassinated during his prayers. Britain had been trading in India since about 1600, but it did not begin to seize large sections of land until 1757 after the Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey was a war that was fought between the British East India Company and the Nawab of Bengal. The battle was won by the British East India Company on June 23, 1757. The battle was fought at Plassey, on the banks of the Bhagirathi River near Calcutta and Murshidabad, which was the public capital of Bengal. The Nawab lost at least 500 troops, while Britain only lost 22. Britain took about $5 million from the Bengali treasury and used it to finance other expansion. As a result of the battle, Britain placed governments in various parts of India, leading to physical violence by the British East India Company. In 1600, the East India Company came to India and began trading. In 1623, they started to build small factories on the eastern and the western coast. The company eventually became involved in politics and acted as an agent of the British power in India from the early 1700s to the mid-1800s. In 1857, India had enough of the British rule, so they started to fight their way out, which caused many people to die. Indians finally ended up realizing that they were no match for the British army. In 1858, the British removed the East India Company and took control of India. This was the beginning of the British Raj. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in Porabandar, India on October 2, 1869. He was the youngest of 4 children. His parents were Karamchand and Putlibai Gandhi. As a kid, Gandhi worshipped the Hindu god Vishnu and followed Jainism, which was an Indian religion that believed in non-violence, fasting, meditation, and vegetarianism. Gandhi got married to Kasturba Kapadia at age 13. His parents arranged the marriage. They had 4 sons. Kasturba Kapadia died in 1944. When he was 18 years old, he left India and went to London to study law. He also studied the Bhagavad Gita, an epic poem sacred to Hindus. He returned to India. For 2 years, he attempted to practice law, but he couldn't, so he took a year-long case in South Africa instead. In 1893, when Gandhi was on his way to South Africa, on a train, he was asked to leave by a white man because Gandhi was Indian. But Gandhi refused to leave, so he was rudely thrown off the train. Right then, Gandhi decided to work on racial discrimination. In 1914, he returned back to India. On March 12, 1930, a group of Indian independence protesters marched to the sea in protest of the British monopoly on salt because Britain's Salt Acts banned Indians from collecting or selling salt. The colonial government required all Indians to buy salt from the British and to pay a salt tax. instead of making their own salt. The Salt March was an act of peaceful civil disobedience led by Ghandi. On April 6th, Ghandi and his followers reached Dandi and dried seawater to make salt. They then moved south down the coast, producing more salt. Over 60,000 people were arrested along with Ghandi. Many Indians were inspired by the Salt March that they started to lead their own protests. On July 23, 1939, Gandhi sent a letter to Hitler. In the letter, it said that Hitler should not start another war. Gandhi also sent another letter to Hitler that said to stop the war, but Hitler never received these letters, so he never replied back. Then, in 1942, Gandhi sent a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt. In the letter, Gandhi said that they would be better off without the British and that they should fight in World War II together. Franklin D. Roosevelt replied back saying that him and Gandhi should join in World War II together. After World War II, Britain had no longer control over India because Britain couldn't afford to be there anymore. The Indian Independence Bill gave the Indians freedom from the British Empire on August 15, 1947 at midnight. The British rule lasted for almost 200 years. People in India celebrated for their freedom. Many people were killed a few days after the independence, including Gandhi. Nathuram Godse assassinated Gandhi on January 30, 1948. He was sentenced to death. As Nathuram grew up, he was influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. So, why did he kill Gandhi? He supported the ideas of nonviolent protest against the British, but when the family moved to Ratnagiri, he became part of the radical movement. India got independence from British in 1947. When Gandhi was giving the money that was promised to Pakistan, Nathuram Godse didn't like Gandhi's tolerance the Muslims. On January 30, 1948, Gandhi was on his way to morning prayer but was stopped by Nathuram Godse. Nathuram Godse bowed and Gandhi bowed back. Nathuram Godse raised the gun and fired with 3 bullets at his chest. Nathuram was arrested and was hung for his crime. Many people were inspired by Gandhi. Martin Luther King Jr. led a civil rights movement. Albert Einstein wrote letters to Gandhi saying how much respect he had for him. John Lennon referred to Gandhi as an influence on his music. Gandhi is important today because without any type of violence, he made India a free country.